Part of his administration's crackdown on crime, as we were talking about earlier, President Trump signed a memorandum establishing a task force to tackle violent crime in Memphis, Tennessee. According to FBI data, Memphis had the highest violent crime rate in the country last year. Memphis also had the highest property crime rate and the third highest murder rate in the U.S. So how will the Memphis Safe Task Force restore law and order in the city? And will it be taking pages from the Trump administration's actions in D.C.? Joining me now to discuss this, Congressman John Rose, who represents the 6th Congressional District of Tennessee. Congressman Rose, welcome to Washington Watch. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Mr. Perkins, for having me on today.
So for 30 years, Democrats have controlled Memphis. How's it going?
Well, I think by the measure certainly of crime and other areas of civic measurement, it's not going well. Democrats, as you say, have controlled every level of Memphis government for 30 years. And I think we'd have to give them a failing grade, and particularly when it comes to the safety and security of Memphians and the desirability of the Bluff City, given the crime problem that we see there.
And Congressman, a number of years ago in our Marriage and Religion Research Institute here at the Family Research Council, which is now spun off and it's an independent organization, studied what was called the Belonging Index. And what they found in Memphis was that only 17% of children under the age of 18 had actually grown up in a home with a mom and dad that they were biologically related to. That was one of the lowest in the country. We saw that in Baltimore. We've seen it in other cities that have had violent crime issues. So while many applaud this effort to address the immediate symptoms, there are some underlying issues here that have to be addressed as well.
Absolutely, and I think you're right to point to the fundamental foundations of Western civilization and Christian faith. We've seen that degraded in Memphis. Too many fatherless children growing up in homes where they're not getting the influence of a two-parent household. For those of us who experienced that growing up, we know how powerful that can be in helping you to find yourself and to have a basis for understanding the world and knowing your place in it. And that's a problem in Memphis, Tennessee. And it's one that, frankly, I think as the president correctly observed last week, a lot of that is around faith and having a religious understanding of your place in the world. And when the faith of this country is not where it should be, and faith in Memphis is not where it should be, then Memphis is not going to thrive. And so the longer-term solutions in Memphis are not about stopping crime, that they're about changing the hearts and minds of Memphians.
So Congressman Rose, let me talk about that, because I know you have concerns about all of the state of Tennessee. Even though you represent one district, you're focused as well on the entire state. So I think what the president is doing, like he did here in D.C., by stabilizing the environment, by containing crime and reducing it, it's kind of a reset. But you've got, when that reset comes, you've got to come in quickly. What are some of the things that, non-governmental organizations like the faith community, churches, and others can do in the state of Tennessee, particularly, specifically speaking about Memphis, as this reset is going to take place?
Sure. Well, I think, as is true for the nation, I think it's equally true for Memphis, or more so. We need a revival of faith in Memphis, Tennessee, and a revival of the values that are fundamental to the Christian faith. And until we have that, the founders correctly observed that democracy, the republic, could only survive if we had a moral people. And I think you see that on display in places like Memphis, Tennessee, where we've seen society degrade, we've seen morality brought into question. And I think for those who advocate for a world where faith is less important, they need to take heed of what happens in places like Memphis when you see those institutions decline.
And it seems like what we've seen in Memphis and other cities, they're not alone. You have, crime gets out of hand, and so the leaders just kind of let it go. I mean, you look at in 2022, Shelby County overhauled its bail system at behest of the district attorney, instituting this secured cash bail only as a last resort. So I mean, basically just saying, hey, we're going to let you go. I mean, you can't refuse to enforce the law and expect people to abide by the law.
That's right, and I think there's too much misunderstanding about criminal justice in this country. I think we saw it proven long ago that kind of a broken windows policy when it comes to crime is what works. Certainly, any parent of young children knows that if you don't raise them up correctly, if you don't teach them when they're young, then you're going to pay a heavy price for that later on. And
right.
And so it's human nature that we're always testing boundaries. And if we're going to live together in a civil society, then we've got to have laws, and those laws have to be enforced. And we can't look at macro measures of, who are committing the crimes and somehow conclude that justice is not being equally dispensed when, the crimes are not being equally committed. And so we've got to have law and order in Memphis, Tennessee, and the people of Memphis ultimately have to decide how they want to live.
Right.
Do they want to live in a crime-ridden town where safety is not available and where their children can't grow up with the security of being able to go outside and play in their lawns without fear of being shot? And if that's the world they want, then that's the world they've gotten from 30 years of poor choices with respect to their leaders.
I would venture to say, Congressman Rose, having been a police officer in the inner city of Baton Rouge that has had its own share of crime problems, that there are a lot of grandmothers there that want safer streets. They want a place for their grandkids that many of them are raising to be able to walk on the streets and be safe. They need the help. I think this is a part of the help to reset. But as you pointed out, the faith community and others have to step in to win hearts and minds. So I think it's an all hands on deck approach if we really want to turn the situation around in this country. Congressman, we're out of time. I want to thank you for joining us. Appreciate your insights and your work on Capitol Hill.
Thank you for having me on. It's a great honor and privilege to serve the people of Tennessee.